You know, for a guy who says he doesn't drink alcohol, Ontario Premier Doug Ford seems downright obsessed over booze, doesn't he? It all began with a weird obsession going back some 7 years ago in which Ford promised on the campaign trail that Ontarians would be able to buy a can of beer for $1. Buck a beer, buck a beer, buck a beer, Ford promised.
I'd buy that for $1.
Yeah, and how did that turn out? Well, I think buck a beer in Ontario lasted for all of 2 weeks. Then the price soared. Gee, today you can't even buy swill like Bud Light for $1.
Even to a guy like me, that's cold.
But really, given all the problems facing Ontarians then and now, you know, like unemployment, a record deficit in debt, school boards being infiltrated by Marxists and Islamists, and so much more, were Ontarians ever really all that obsessed about getting a can of suds for a loonie? Give me a break already. But from promising cheaper alcohol products, Ford these days is all about banning certain booze from the shelves of his bloated booze monopoly. That would be the Liquor Control Board of Ontario. Oh, but make no mistake, the LCBO is indeed all about control. Ontario isn't Alberta, which has enjoyed a fully privatized system since 1994. That was the right move then. It's the right move now, of course. I mean, there is a role when it comes to the government and alcohol, and that role is to tax and regulate the product, not to warehouse and retail the stuff. Still, with Ford going on a booze banning jihad, one wonders if the LCBO will have any liquor left to control in the months ahead. And disturbingly, the booze banning has nothing to do with quality control or sales figures, and everything to do with political grandstanding. This trend kicked off in 2022 when Ford ordered the LCBO to yank Russian vodka off the shelves. This was due to the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine. 3 years later, well, knock me down with a feather. These two nations are still at war. Golly, Ford wasn't able to intimidate Vladimir Putin to sue for peace? Shockers. But at least Ford scored a PR photo op. And Doug Ford loves photo ops almost as much as he loves his cherished cherry cheesecake.
If I wasn't Premier, I'd open up a cheesecake factory. That, my friends, is the Premier's Cheesecake. Friends, stay safe, stay healthy, and these are some of the fun things you can do when you're self-isolating. Oh, I haven't had one of these in years.
Yeah, what a fun thing to do when being quarantined. Sit around all day eating garbage. But these days, Ford orchestrating booze banning photo ops as opposed to, I don't know, doing something tangible. It's getting a tad boring, wouldn't you say? Case in point, earlier this year, all U.S. liquor products ranging from California wines to Kentucky bourbons were also pulled from LCBO shelves as a result of the ongoing tariff tiff between the U.S. and Canada. But let's think about this for a moment, shall we? What was taking $1 billion worth of bought and paid for inventory off the shelves of the LCBO? What was it supposed to achieve? These products are now taking up space in a warehouse somewhere, which is being paid for by Ontario's ever-beleaguered taxpayers, of course. Thanks, Dougie. Whatever happened to your old, albeit brilliant slogan, respect for taxpayers? I mean, even if you agree with banning U.S. booze, why not sell off the existing inventory, advising customers that when this stuff is gone, it's gone? Oh yeah, what am I saying? That would eradicate that stupid photo op of LCBO staffers yanking U.S. hooch off the shelves. So take that, Donald Trump. You know, this is the very reason why monopolies, especially government-run monopolies, are both odious and egregious. Indeed, selectively playing politics and banning certain booze thanks to country of origin is an example of an abusive monopoly. And because the provincial government owns and operates the LCBO monopoly, all this booze canceling qualifies as abuse of regulatory authority. Someone really ought to sue. And please don't tell me that if I love Kentucky bourbon so much, I can just take a day trip and cross the border to, say, New York State or Michigan and pick up a bottle in the US of A. There's just one hitch to that strategy: cost. Remember when I went to a Detroit liquor store last month, folks? Like a rube, I actually declared my bottle of Booker's bourbon at the Detroit-Windsor border crossing. Spoiler alert, I found out that honesty is not the best policy. Check it out. Now, as you can see, this is the bourbon of choice when I come to the U.S., Booker's. It's expensive. It's $120 US, but you can't get this at the LCBO because of Doug Ford's photo op of removing all American booze from the LCBO. In fact, you can't get even the cheapest bourbon because anything from Kentucky, anything from California, that is product non grata. So I'm going to do the honest thing. I'm going to declare this at the border. Wonder what the penalty will be in terms of taxation, tariff, customs, however you want to call it. Now, here's the other thing. This is Zyn. Yes, it contains nicotine, but certainly not as much nicotine as what's allowed for sale in Canada. And by the way, there's been recent studies showing that Zyn, the consumption of which helps those with Parkinson's disease, but Health Canada does not approve this. So what does that mean? Is it more than paying a customs fee? Is it actually getting this confiscated, even though Tobacco Classic is sold in Canada? We're going to see when we cross the border about an hour from now. Well, folks, we just emerged from the Detroit-Windsor tunnel, and we told the truth that we had a bottle of bourbon and a package of Zyn. Oh, did we pay a price? Let's start with the Zyn. As you can see, this is me consenting to voluntary confiscation of the Zyn. The other option was to go back to the United States and use it there or give it away there. But given that it's a $6.99 item, well, you would pay more in the toll to do that. So I had no choice but to give it away. And by the way, they told me they're going to destroy it. And the reason is that Zyn is 6 milligrams of nicotine. The limit is 4 milligrams of nicotine. Now, you can get higher nicotine in Canada, but by prescription. So you see, it's the federal government hand in hand with Big Pharma. Big Pharma wants its cut. It doesn't want you getting the high nicotine product from the convenience store or the liquor store. So there you have it. Here is what the tax man wanted for declaring the bourbon. We'll start with $6.57 in duty. Oh, that's not bad. Oh, well, wait. Then we have the GST, HST component. That's $22.45. And, oh, will you hear this one? The provincial liquor markup fee, $103.45. So the grand total, $132.47. So let's pretend we're in a chronology where the US and Canadian dollar are on par. I paid more in provincial markups, GST, HST, and duty than what I paid for the actual bottle, $132.47 versus $120. So I guess at the end of the day, I want to meet the jokers who coined the phrases, honesty is the best policy, and crime doesn't pay. And as for you, Premier Ford, you forced me into this position. You won't allow me to buy a bottle of bourbon at your Crown Liquor monopoly. You know what? To quote Mike Elbows Up Myers,
You really are a fat bastard.
yeah, I won't be making that mistake ever again. But now comes word that Doug Ford isn't quite done yet with the booze banning. And the latest threatened booze ban is really the most illogical one of all. You see, Ford is threatening to delist all Diageo products from the LCBO come February. Diageo owns Crown Royal, and the Crown Royal bottling facility in Amherstburg, Ontario, which is near Windsor, is slated to close early next year. Diageo, it should be noted, is a booze behemoth. In the fiscal year ending in June 2025, it had more than US $20 billion in revenue. But when the Amherstburg plant is shuttered, 160 workers will be given their pink slips. This will be a debilitating blow for this town of 25,000. By the way, how is this even happening? I mean, isn't this why Mark Captain Canuck Carney, Ford's newest best boyfriend in Ottawa, was elected in April? He was going to save the day and end the tariff dispute and make Canada great again or something like that. However, it looks like elbows up has been replaced with knees down, but never mind. For its part, Diageo says the closure of the plant has nothing to do with the ongoing tariff tiff. Marsha McIntosh, Diageo's president of North America Supply, said the following in a statement, quote, "This was a difficult decision, but one that is crucial to improving the efficiency and resiliency of our supply chain network," end quote. Now, I did reach out to Diageo's media relations department for further comment, but I never heard back. I also paid a visit to the Crown Royal plant last month, but employees told me they had been instructed not to speak to the media. Naturally, the upcoming closure did not go unnoticed by Premier Ford, and shockers, you guessed it, Ford staged a photo op, this time pouring a large bottle of Crown Royal down the drain.
So, you know something? I found a bottle, and I don't even drink, of Crown Royal, right? I see that Crown Royal. I saw it at home. So this is what I think about Crown Royal. That's what they could do. And I think everyone else should do the same thing. Start supporting companies that make whiskey here by Ontario people. That's what we need to do, is support each other. You know something? I'm going to make this even come out quicker because it's not coming out. I know Mayor Barry wants to lie on the floor right now with his mouth open.
No thanks.
But no, I wish I could get this out coming out quicker, but I'll stand here until it's over.
Nice. What's more, a blustery Ford threatened to play hardball with Diageo should the closure go through as scheduled, which is to say all Diageo products would be delisted from LCBO stores. That's a big deal. In addition to Crown Royal, Diageo produces more than 200 brands of booze, including Johnny Walker Scotch, Captain Morgan Rum, Tanqueray Gin, Bailey's Irish Cream, and Guinness Beer. Ford says the LCBO is Diageo's biggest customer, with sales of its products at the LCBO amounting to more than $740 million per year. So far, the company has not reversed course and intends to close the Amherstburg facility in February as planned. Now, I'm of two minds about Ford's strategy here, folks. The announced closure is, of course, horrible news for this town, and I very much feel for the Crown Royal employees who will be out of a job in the months ahead if the closure indeed goes through. Windsor already has a staggering 11.2% unemployment rate. Where will these workers find jobs? But by the same token, in the bigger picture, I wonder, Just what are the rules when it comes to those alcohol products that get delisted in Ontario, not due to lack of demand, but rather due to politics? Well, let's start with Crown Royal, which is as Canadian as you can get. Crown Royal whiskey is distilled and aged in Gimli, Manitoba. There's also a bottling facility in Valleyfield, Quebec. As well, the ingredients in Crown Royal, such as corn, rye, and barley, are grown in Western Canada by Canadian farmers. Also, the Canadian headquarters and the warehouse operations of Diageo are situated in the Toronto area. So, if Ford goes through with his threat, this is going to affect everyone from farmers in the prairies to bottlers in Quebec. Last time I checked, those folks were still carrying Canadian passports. Oh, and here's another thing. Last time I surfed the LCBO's website, it was stocking some 176 products from China, 176. But why? China has an egregious human rights record. China is conducting a genocide of its Uyghur people. China has delivered a debilitating hit on Canuck canola farmers by slapping Canadian canola seed with a 78.5% tariff, not to mention a 100% duty on canola oil, meal, and peas. And let us never, ever forget that the People's Republic of China was responsible for the COVID-19 pandemic, which killed millions of people and cost the world's economy untold trillions of dollars. So why does this communist dictatorship get a free pass at the LCBO? Why the hell are we doing business with these people when we don't need to? If Ting Sao beer is pulled from the shelves, well, too bad, so sad. Pick up a 6-pack of Labatt Blue or choose from hundreds of other brands that are domestically produced. You know, products that are bottled in Canada with Canadian ingredients and made by Canadian workers. Now, I did reach out to the Ontario Ministry of Finance, which oversees the LCBO, but like all ministries in Ontario under Ford these days, they are under a gag order and will not comment to the independent media. Pathetic. Gee, maybe we need to rebrand this province as the Democratic People's Republic of Ontario and perhaps get Doug Ford fitted for a crown. At least that would amount to some truth in advertising. Then again, perhaps Doug Ford, like his former Ontario-based best buddy, Justin Trudeau, also has a level of admiration for China, end quote. Or maybe, just maybe, China makes the world's finest cherry cheesecake. If that's the case, you think Doug Ford is going to rock that boat? But the Booze Brouhaha in Ontario tells you all you need to know about the Ford PCs. They are all sizzle and no steak. They certainly aren't conservative. It's disgraceful. It's sad. It's nonsensical. It's self-defeating. And in the meantime, I'm praying every day that Ontario doesn't end up getting into some sort of stupid dispute with Scotland, because if Doug Ford declares the Yank Scotch from LCBO shelves, well, in the immortal words of Bugs Bunny,
of course, you know, this means war.